Welcome back to TechlineAfrica. Everything we have done so far lives in the console. In this episode, we are going to add the task list onto the page. The DOM is how JavaScript communicates with your HTML, and we are going to use that to build something you can actually see and show your friends. Concept first, then we build. Let's go. Whenever you open your application in the browser, it does not just display it. Rather, the browser will build a live representation of every element in memory as a tree of objects, and that is what we refer to as the DOM. HTML is written in this form, but the browser will create a tree like this, and every node in the tree is an object. JavaScript can reach into this tree, grab any node, make changes to it, add something to it, remove it at any point in time without refreshing the page. That is the DOM, a live interactive version of the HTML. Open the browser and click on the Element tab. This is the DOM that you are referring to. Any element that you put the cursor on will be highlighted on the page for you to see. Open your JavaScript file and let's see how we can select the DOM element. We can use the following methods to access elements on the page. Document refers to the entire web page. GetElementById will always return a specific element that will match the ID that you are going to provide. Mind you, this is just a function which requires one argument, which is the ID of the element that you want to select. GetElementByClassName also requires you to provide the name of the class that you want, and it will return all the elements on the page matching this class name. The difference is that GetElementByClassName will always return a collection, but GetElementById will return the specific element matching this ID. Unlike GetElementByClassName, where you have to provide a specific class name, using query selector, you can provide any kind of selector. In this case, I am using a class, but you can also use an ID or any kind of selector, even nested selectors. Same applies to query selector all. But the difference is that query selector will return the very first element that will match the selector that you provide. But query selector all will return all the elements that will match the selector that you provide. Now that we are able to select any element from the DOM, we can also change the content of any element. For example, I can access the container that we created, task list, and then add my own content. Save your work and refresh the page. And this is the output coming from JavaScript. Using innerHTML would mean that you want to add an HTML element. But we can also use inner text, which will require you to just add a normal string. So you save the work, refresh the page, and the content should change. We can also use JavaScript to create a new element on the page. But before that, we need to initialize our application when the page is loaded. Go to the displayTasks function and add these changes. This is what we are doing. We select the element from the DOM using the ID. And if the filtered record is equal to 0, then we update the element. Save your work and refresh the page. The filter should come before the task list. Open your index.html and move the task list container after the filters. Refresh the page, and this is what we want. The next step is to add the task list to the page. So after this condition, we will clear out the current content. And then we are going to use the loop that we learned. We create a card for each task by using the create element. And then we add a class name. Update the inner HTML. And then we create a container with a class of test content, task content, another container to display our title. If there is a description, then also create another container for the description. After the card is created, we need to append it to the list. And don't forget to return out of this condition. Save your work and refresh the page. When you try to add a task now, you click on Add, and you should see this output. Let's add some styling. Open your styles.css and add the following styles. So for the task card, we will add this. For the task content and task title, and this will be for the description and the meter. Save your work and refresh the page. Test it out. And now you should get something like this. Let's add a button that we can click on it to delete the task. Open your script.js and inside the for each, we add a button with a class of btn delete. And on click event, we call the delete task function and we pass in the ID. Remember, this function has been created already in the previous video. Let's add some styles for this button. Save your work and refresh the page. If we test it out, you click on add, and now you see this button. When you click on it, it should remove because we've already created this function. The last thing to add is a button that we can click to toggle the status of the task, and also some styling for the status and the priority. Open your JavaScript file, and before the task content, we add a button. For the content, we check the status of the task. If it is done, then we can add some check mark. Otherwise, leave it as blank. Open your CSS file and let's add the following styles. Save your work and refresh the page. Now we can add a task and see the changes. We can also toggle the task. The filter should also work fine. Now we understand how to manipulate the DOM by selecting elements and also updating their content. We also learned how to create a new element. The task list is now displayed on the page with all functionalities fully operational. In the next video, we are going to understand JSON and how to persist data in local storage. See you in the next video.